it's very important for all of us to understand cloud services is nothing but a remote data center, a virtual data center, a complete data center. In the enterprise segment, these days, or probably in 5 years or 8 years back, every organization used to have a data center in-house. When I say data center, it has its own servers, it has its own network devices, its own security devices, its own web servers, applications, licenses, and everything for that. Cloud coming into the picture, and it was a lot of expense. Cloud coming into the picture basically give or saved all those expense in terms of investment, because all this is provided into the cloud services. When we talk about cloud technologies as such, it provides you virtual servers, virtual machines, virtual security, virtual network, virtual applications, recreated services, everything. And guys, you don't have to invest at all. You will have to just pay for what you have used. If you have used 2 GB RAM, just pay for that. If you have used 10 GB storage, just pay for that. You don't have to provision high volume and high value resources for which you don't have any projection with. It saves a lot of cost in the enterprises. And that's where concepts of cloud services today are getting acquainted with different technology segments. There was somebody also said that cloud is something where we store data. Yes, that's absolutely right. Cloud has its own database services, its own servers, its own operating system services, its own resources. All of that is there. And we are going to see that today on how exactly cloud works, because all the machine learning and AI which goes around the world as on today is on a cloud. Either it's Azure or Amazon services or Google services, any one of these two. So guys, when we talk about AWS, which is Amazon Web Services, as of now, it basically talks about foundational services of Amazon, which starts with EC2, which is Elastic Compute Cloud. Now, what do you exactly mean by compute? As I said, it's a virtual data center, which means it will need a processor. It will need a processor to execute, right? To compute, to process a particular information. And that's one of the most important service which needs to be used with AWS. Elastic Complete Cloud. It is also known as EC2. Amazon EC2 is responsible to compute, to process what needs to happen, to process a program, an application, a web server, a network, everything. Amazon EC2 is nothing but an instance which is termed as virtualized servers in Amazon's data center. Amazon EC2 is designed to make web scale computing easier for developers. And with EC2's simple web service interface, you can obtain and configure capacity with minimal friction. It reduces the time required to obtain and boot new server instances. And that's one of the important beauty of EC2. It presents a virtual computing environment, allowing you to use web services, scale the capacity, use Linux, Windows in any of the regions or availability zones with which you need to work on the reliability. Now, regions and availability zones are nothing but places, resources where we have these data centers placed. These data centers are not available in all the countries. Let's talk about where all these data centers are present, and that basically helps. I was talking about regions. This is the place. Sitting in Dubai, I can access the data center in North Virginia, Ohio, California, Cape Town, Hong Kong, Mumbai, Singapore, Sydney, Tokyo, Europe, Middle East, and South America. In Middle East, Bahrain is the only place where there is a data center for Amazon. This is the nearest one. And of course, Mumbai. When we talk about Dubai, these two are the nearest data centers which can be used. That doesn't mean that you will have to use them. It's up to you. If your users of your applications are in US, probably you deploy your applications and resources in the US data center. If the users are in India, that increases the performance and latency. Once I select Mumbai, I'm in Mumbai. This is my Mumbai data center. And that's where this is my EC2 dashboard where I can create instances. It shows us the complete analytics on how many instances are there, what are the IPs, which hosts, which load balancers, which security protocols are right. Now this dashboard gives that complete information. Basically gives us a place from where we can create a new instance or instance template. As this is a new account and I have not worked in Mumbai at all, I cannot see the required instance types. But these are the different instance types which are available, or instance templates which are available, from which we can select while creating new instances. So this takes me to create a new instance. And here I have pre-created template. Whether I want a Linux 2 AMI machine with SSD, with all these, or Red Hat Enterprise Linux, or SUSE Linux server, or Ubuntu, or Microsoft, or Amazon RDS, or Windows various machines. And this basically gives a clarity of all the action items which are needed. Let's say, as of now, as I said, the account is free. Let me select a Windows template. As soon as I select Windows template, it asks me the compute power. How many CPUs do I need? What is the memory you need to allocate to CPU? What kind of storage will it use and how it will work? For now, let's have a free tier eligible selection, which is T2. How many instances do you need? What kind of network that instance will be connected to? Are there any subnets, VPN, and every resource which needs to be created? All this will be identified. Then we can add storage to the instance. By default, general purpose SSD is selected. However, you can select as per your request and then review and launch. So this is my EC2 instance, which is in process of launch. It just took me not more than 2 minutes to get my Windows installed and ready for me. How much time have you spent installing Windows? At least in half an hour. It's initializing, right? Here it is not taking more than 5 minutes. And your Windows is ready for you to use and for you to give access to anyone who want to use. This is details of my virtual server, an IP address from where I can access it. It takes care about security rules. It talks about networking components. It talks about storage, status checks, monitoring, and different tags all. You can connect to it. So there are a few prerequisites of applications which are missing. If we download the remote desktop file and connect. Probably I am under firewall, guys. That's why it's not allowing me to connect to the machine. Just give me a second. However, this is the way with which we create and install a normal server. Now, point for all of us to explore before I get into the machine is how are we planning to work in creating these instances with different values, which will play an important role when learning the web service instances on cloud. From the machine learning or artificial intelligence perspective, it's very important for all of us to pre-qualify the type of memory, storage, processing units required on the cloud. Yes, programming, creating models, that's fine. You will learn and do it. But how to use and where to deploy and what to test on are these cloud services which you need to explore and learn more about. That's where our Amazon EC2 will majorly talk about, where we talk about core count, memory size, storage, network performance, and different CPU technologies which are used. By default, AWS uses Xeon processors in their data centers, wherein we will have to create these various EC2 families from journal purpose to compute optimized to memory optimized to storage optimized, depending on what is the usage, what is our objective. And there are multiple templates available for you to use from the ML and AI perspective. All these templates will have different verticals with which you will create a load which will be applied on these templates. When it comes to machine learning, when it comes to deep learning, there's a service called SageMaker, which is deployed on all of these EC2 services, which is a machine learning algorithm which is required. And these are the features with which we can work in the processor family of EC2 instance for the machines. And that basically creates a fantastic environment for all of us to understand and learn more about cloud services and applications. We discussed about, I introduced deep learning yesterday. Now, as just to recap, deep learning is a subset of machine learning, which is composed of algorithms that permit software to train itself to perform tasks like speech, image recognition, and exposed to multi-layer neural network activities. At the same time, it is a subset of machine learning, as we said, and machine learning is a subset of AI, as we discussed. Understanding the complete AI stack with different development perspectives on what can be expected is very important. We had started with artificial intelligence long time ago. However, it has been evolved into different segments of bits and pieces when it is defined into the depth of neurons with which we can achieve. And that's why machine learning, deep learning, and artificial intelligence go hand in hand. The most important part, as I was discussing now in the morning also, is the component of what can be expected. As we say, the complete product perspective, it is not only programming. Programming model is one part of it. Algorithms is second part of it. GPU and acceleration is third part of it. And data is fourth part of it. These four things together talk about creating a product around image understanding, speech recognition, NLP, and automation with the help of autonomy, which can be done. Now we need to understand how basically artificial intelligence was considered and created into the AWS platform. Now AWS by default as a product is already investing a lot, and they have their own products with which this has been designed and created. Product like search and discovery, logistics, Alexa, or drones. Having said that, these products play an important role on these services. Now, why I'm talking about AWS here? Because of the pre-defined, pre-created algorithms and services which you can consume and learn when you are using AWS as a platform. When it comes to AWS, Amazon Alexa service or Alexa voice service plays an important role, which empowers us to create our applications, which will connect to Alexa and work with Amazon intelligent cloud-based voice services, which means that with our applications, we can create programming integration around all the applications which we want to build on cloud. And this cloud-based intelligence, all the models, algorithms are already created in this particular service, which is a service available in console of AWS. It supports us on timers and alarms. It supports us on smart home control with help of IoT. It supports us on music. It supports us on news and information. It supports us on shopping integration, all the different activities. So this Alexa voice service is one service which I want you guys to explore and understand and learn more about it. And that is a platform where you can create your apps and talk conveniently and deploy. So Capital One is one of the classical case study from the banking industry. Now, Capital One is a bank in United States, and Alexa is integrated with Capital One as a customer service. Alexa service is something which Capital One has integrated with API and machine learning models, where we can have personalized content supported by Alexa directly, which talks about account accesses, which talk about track spending, which talks about checking the balances, paying the bills, and prevent the fraud altogether. And this basically creates a convenient mechanism for us to create a good customer experience. Now, our today's session would be to create and understand what and where the real applications are applied, related services are applied, related services are applied, so that we know that it's when we create a product, what should be the thought process and how we basically work. Now we have seen listening about robots, listening about Alexa powered robots, listening about driverless cars with Ford Motors, listening about uh, integration of Alexa with Volkswagen, integration of Alexa with Huawei, or probably your TV and other sensor components. So these were few retail-based activities which are used using pre-created algorithms on Alexa voice service. Now this also has a product which Alexa has launched called Eco Look. Now with Eco Look, that's where voice recognition understands your request, natural speech responses are created, image recognition sees what you are wearing, and machine learning rates and recommends your best looks based on the data which has been provided. And that's where EcoLook plays an important role when it comes to AWS. Now, what is all this? All this is AI. AI allotted with IoT in the retail space of experience. And that's where we need to understand the application. Yes, technically programming is important, but then you need to know where all we have reached in the market so that you can plan your learning journey accordingly. Because AI engineering is a complete course and degree altogether, which we provide, which specialization on AI can be learned with an hands-on certificate from AWS itself. You might have seen different videos running these days on WhatsApp, on Amazon Go, wherein human less shopping is done, counterless, paymentless. You just walk in, pick up, and walk out, and that checks out. So it's a combination of computer vision, sensor fusion, and deep learning. Similarly, machine learning is responsible to understand the purchase patterns, and systems which are integrated like bank accounts play an important role in this complete process. This is one of the classical example of artificial intelligence being implemented with data, with machine learning, with deep learning, with internal algorithms like computer vision, sensor fusion, NLP, and conversational AI. Similarly, there's a product called Prime Air, which is a combination of quantum computing, edge computing to allow real-time decisions to be made in a vehicle or by a delivery drone. And that's live, guys. This is Sense is already live and used it. There are products in the every industry which have been used or which are being used with different segments in running AI and production on various technologies from banking, from finance, from education, from customer service, from spatial, from telecom, from healthcare, you name an industry, and there is an AWS product which has been used. One of the important feature in the Netflix is recommendation and ranking. How do you think we achieve it? Yes, it's AI. It's simultaneously working with all languages, with all users, with all countries. You imagine the amount of data being processed into the machine learning algorithms, getting a reward, and at what speed. This is something which you all have primarily experienced. I hope I'm right. You all use Netflix, right? You have experienced it.
Yes. Yes.
Expedia, which is a travel and hotel booking example, which manages over 10 million images from nearly 300,000 hotels to find photos that resonate with customers' request. And now, guys, this statistics which I'm sharing is of 2017. It's 4 years, around 3 to 4 years past. This has been multifold increases, and amount of experience this has gone to support global data engineering tactics is completely different. And that's not only your models, this is all about the platform also, because you will need those power to execute. You will need those power to process the data, give the correct predictions, and work with all the topics around with different technologies. Then we have Pinterest. This has been used. The features like lens, visual search to pin your information. In fact, it's all social media, but Pinterest is an active usage. Cybersecurity, fraud.net, machine learning is responsible to analyze the financial transaction and predict your bank account or fraudulent activity before it happens. That's one of the most important boon to the cybersecurity industry, which defines and predicts your attacks
Excuse me,
beforehand
doctor.
with different segments. Yes.
Sorry, I didn't understand how AI and machine learning can help with cybersecurity.
Okay. So what basically happens is when it comes to cybersecurity, it's very important for all of us to understand that cybersecurity cell is active 24/7 in all the networks the country is present. Based on the user behavior, access of user behavior, machine learning will be filtering the type of requests which are coming through the networks. We will have to train our models to understand what could be a cyber attack and what couldn't be a cyber attack. Now, if somebody is trying to transact from your bank account at probably 2 a.m. at night, accessing maybe from Nigeria, and you have access to your bank account at 12 o'clock from UAE, that's where system needs to understand that that's a fraudulent activity happening, right? In these kind of scenarios. So there will be multiple scenarios like this for which machines are trained. Fraud.net is a classical example which is being used and serving multiple merchants and activities to secure the frauds over online transactions. And there will be different pattern detection techniques which are needed. There will be different anomaly detection techniques which can be created. And that algorithm and that data is something which we will have to identify and work. I would like to share a classical example here because that happens with me in our organization. I'll have to tell you that in our offices are in UAE in United States, in United Kingdom, and in India. Now, all of these are connected through network. All our offices are connected to private VPNs. What basically happens is, and that's why we have a via IP telephony system. What happened with me in my company was overnight, there were a lot of calls done through my system, through the IP telephony. And in the morning when I woke up, the bill for those calls was around $800,000. Imagine. The telecom company in the morning stopped everything, disconnected all my phones, disconnected the VPN, and post which the fight started with telecom company and of course cybersecurity people, policies, and everybody. What it took around 16 months, I think 16 or 18 months approximately, for cybersecurity cell to find out. These calls happened from Syria, Nigeria, Kazakhstan, Ghana, and I think Ethiopia. These were the locations. These guys used to call and used our systems to call for betting transactions, or probably, I don't know if you are aware, you bet, right? The financial betting on games.
Yeah, like lot basically.
Yeah, so like a lottery. And we were unaware of it. However, if I had a machine learning algorithm implemented, or AI or Cell AI implemented in the telecom or in my organization, we could have restricted that calls. Having said that, yes, telecom companies' responsibility was to take care of it, and primarily, which they didn't had, and that's why we were safe without paying that bill. However, yes, this is one of the classic example where AI and machine learning can detect the fraudulent or anomalies which can happen in the behavioral usage. Now, my organization in India works from morning 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. There are no calls which happen after 10 p.m. Let us have a buffer of 2 hours. So after 10 p.m. till tomorrow, next day morning 8 a.m., we can have a policy access and define the anomalies which happen in the system. So that's one of the way. Now, this is one example which I gave, which happened in my company. There are many examples like this in the industry, from the betting, from the telecom, from the bank transactions. Now, I think in Oman, I don't know if there are people from Muscat. I would like to tell you, this is also one of the beautiful case study which happened with Muscat, Bank Muscat, I think, in Oman. And our technical team was handling it. And that's why during the analysis, we identified this track. One of the employee of Bank Muscat wrote a program that for every transaction which happens in Bank Muscat, 0.1 fils is credited to his account, his Bank Muscat account. Imagine the number of transactions which are happening by the users. In one day, roughly 100 million transactions happens in Bank Muscat. Even if it is 0.1 is a small amount, multiplied by 100 million, and that happens. And he was getting that credit with every transaction. And none of the user like you and me, if somebody detects or deducts 0.1 fils or 0.25 fils, or even 1 dirham, will not look into it, right? Will not dedicatedly look into it. So nobody could know that what's happening in what this. Nobody complained. 2.5 years. 2 years
Okay.
and 8 months to be specific. This was happening.
Doctor, so how does like machine learning help in avoiding this? Like, can you give us more details? Like how do you avoid, like if you used machine learning in your company, how would it have helped before the crisis happening?
So in case of Bank Muscat or in case of my company, if I would have the predicted model for unusual behavior, there are anomaly detection models which should be applied to my telephony system. And these anomalies can be predicted based on technical implementation which needs to be done. And that's why machine learning comes in picture, because machine should learn that my working hour is 10 to 6 or probably 8 to 9, 8 to 5. If there are heavy transactions happening in the odd hours, which is a flag raiser for machine. And that's where the flags needs to be raised. And that's where machine learning comes in the picture. It analyzes and trains machine to to check the transactions and predict the fraudulent activity which is started to happen or which have just initiated. And there could be different schemes around every variation which needs to be worked out. So we need to train our machine on what and how machine automated transactions can happen. And with the help of NLP, all these transactions would be self-learned. I hope that answers your question.
Joya, yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, Joya.
Yeah, perfect answer.
Yeah. So that's where this can be one of the fantastic case study. Now, what we need to understand as technology experts is, as I was saying, that we will have developers using technologies to build different application services, development platforms, and coding frameworks. However, we will have to work on specialized infrastructures, and that specialized infrastructure is something which we need to work out. So there are 4 important segments which are important for all of us to understand: from AI assisted applications, model creation on platforms, framework creation with deep learning, and infrastructure to scale and power the processing facts of the technology. So when you talk about services, platforms, frameworks, and infrastructure, we'll have to create these service-based activities while planning our project. And that will make an important difference. When it comes to the services or using the pre-built models, that's where your ML application has to integrate or identify a business problem. When the business problem is identified, we involve the front-end team, data engineering team to create the integration between that application. Once that front-end and data engineering team has integrated the data, that's where the analysts come into the picture to work with multiple machine learning models and apply with the DevOps practices or agile practices to which are in your machine learning algorithm. The best part here is in the analyst and DSNML model, the investment of time, instead of creating a new, there are consumed or there are pre-available APIs in the AWS managed services which can be consumed and which can be used, which is basically handled by AWS automatically. And that's where when we talk about services, the services are around vision, speech, and language, which we have already studied in the first part. And all of these services are pre-created components, pre-created services. Amazon AI ML services are basically consumable services which can immediately work or consumed or integrated with your APIs, which could be Lex-based, poly-based, or recognition-based, which are scalable, trained, and available with different factors on data science models, SageMakers, accessible APIs, and training data, which is available for Amazon to work on different practices. So here it's more of Amazon segments. And we have seen the case studies of every feature, starting from image recognition on searchable library, face-based user, facial recognition, celebrity identification, sentiment analysis, and detect appropriate content in. Now, this is one of the, again, I would like to highlight and give you an example, because this is one of the projects which we have worked exclusively with Facebook. Now, when my team was working with Facebook resources to detecting the correct or inappropriate content, if you have experienced the feature where Facebook identifies your image, whether it's appropriate, inappropriate, whether you are posting probably incorrect images, hate images, violent images, porn images, anything of that sort, it identifies. And that's one of the classification example which is being practically implemented by our team. And that's something which is very important for education system these days, because all your colleges or your schools are going digital. While going digital, mishap can happen any point in time. So it's very important for us to work on different extraction component. So when we talk about extraction of metadata in visual component, we identify different practices from object and scene detection, from facial analysis, from face comparisons, from facial recognition, celebrity recognition, and image moderation perspective. These are six basic services which are pre-created and available as an API with Amazon Web Services, which can be used. And all of them has their own domain where it can be worked out well in different activities. This is an example, classic example of object and scene detection, where we identify objects and scenes which provide us scores in numerous. That's where it applies and work. And that's where it works. When it comes to facial analysis, different analysis from emotions, from attributes, from facial poses, from image quality, landmarks, and different demographic data which needs to be applied and will be used in different segments. Same goes with every activity which we have identified for, from face comparison to check the similarity, facial recognition to create correct index, to have correct collection of data, to check the probability of indexes. Now, this is one of the important data set which is being implemented by Dubai Police also in different segments, where we work on identifying or tracking the criminals on from the global list of criminals which is have. And one of the beautiful feature while using these services are all of these are customizable. All of these can be worked with correct customization techniques. Then we have celebrity recognition and image modernization also, which can be worked out, which is an important and good part of celebrity recognition and modernization techniques overall. Now, while working with this, yes, it requires a lot of services which needs to be consumed, and all of these services are limited with S3 or resolution-based component. And these matching faces or APIs work with all the contents. So this is an example of recognition services or customers who are using recognition services in different domains or in different industries, which can be worked out. Now, this is one of the classical example of tagging for C-SPAN, which was customized and deployed in 3 weeks. This particular speed is commendable. All the footages are indexed and available for speaking. Celebrity recognition algorithms is one of the classical examples which are available with the facial pixels. And this basically helps in all the extractions. When it comes to AWS, next set of services is conversational interactions. So before we get into conversational interactions, is there any question? Guys, are you all with me? Okay, I can see a few things posted on chat. Let me see. Yes, go ahead. This?
Yeah, so you're mentioning facial recognition, and there's like a growing concern about it being misused or racism taking a part in this. Are you worried about that?
Somehow, Noor, I am not able to hear you clearly. There was a lot of difference. I don't know if it's for me or everybody. But can you please repeat that?
Can you hear me clearly?
There is slight disturbance, Noor.
Okay. I'll write it in the chat.
Yeah. Okay, I think Dale, the beauty of the data sets, yes, you can train data sets any point in time. Yes, these services can be customized, retrained based on changes. Is real times from real players? I have no clue, Saif. I'm sorry. Okay. Mute, clear, understood, perfect. Okay. Okay. Are you worried about racism? Yeah, that I understood, but from what perspective is something I didn't get. I think they're talking about bias in training. Okay. You sound like a robot. Oh, is it? Oh, okay. That was for Noor. That's right, Jawar. She sounded like a robot. Dr. Ali asks what we need to build. Own infrastructure to run AI. Is there an open source library? Ali, yes, there are multiple open source library. But when you talk about infrastructure, it is more towards computing and accessibility. So as of now, any cloud services is the best option. Or if you have good amount of money to invest in your own data center, you can do that. Esra has answered, yes, AI can be used to do deep fake. Yes, that's absolutely correct, Esra. So Sarah, when the data engineering team integrates the data analysts basically are domain experts who run through data, who analyze the data and understand what is appropriate and what is inappropriate, or what is expected by the leaders who are sponsoring your machine learning project, and retrieves that data to be used. Noor, there is a growing concern about the misuse of facial recognition, especially considering current state of affairs in many nations. Are you concerned about that? Not exactly, Noor. Probably misuse of facial recognition. It depends on what data and what application you basically try and work out, and that's how that is identified. So it depends. So we cannot control the misuse. However, what we can do is based on the utilization patterns of whoever is doing misuse, we can identify anomalies, and that might help. Okay, Noor. So you are a robot. Thanks, Saif, for having that fun talk. That's good. What AI projects can you suggest at the end of training which we can do on our own as a team? Umair, there is a lot to do, Umair, but this training is the fundamental approach. If you want to further drill down into the projects and learn more on what and how to deal with models, we can connect, or you can write us an email, and Mohammed Bashir from my team or somebody from my team for sure will get back to you. I hope you have coordinates on that front, because we run the internship based programs on AI where people actually work on these technologies. Saf, so people who train data and AI are domain experts. You can say yes. Domain experts will classify what should be used as data for training machines. And technology experts will take the data and push it into your machine learning models. Ali, they were using their own infrastructure. As of now, I am sure they have moved to cloud, but the story is somewhere around five or 6 years back when they were using their own IBM servers. Can AI programmers be domain experts too? Yes, Saf, that can certainly happen. It's based on your experience because you know your domain based, and the problem which you are planning to solve has to be from a domain expert. So that's absolutely right. Uh, okay, Jannat, Doctor, how to crack into jobs in AI field here in UAE? Any suggestions? I don't know what experience you have, Jannat, but then yes, I think ministry and government is taking a lot of initiatives to implement AI in different verticals, and that can certainly be explored. Private sector, I am not much sure on what are the industries and what are the different companies who are adopting. But yes, once you have official knowledge and the hands-on experience of learning AI, is that's what I said, Jannat. When it comes to freshers, we have an internship-based degree, a global recognized internship-based learning, which is counted as an experience because it's not only training what we do, but after training you work on a project for around 3 years till your complete course works out. So that's an internship experience, and 3 years is a good experience. N. Pereira asks, sir, does cybersecurity relate with AI? Yes, there are a lot of models which can be worked with cybersecurity, but what kind of solutions you want to build on cybersecurity, that depends on these factors. Yes, Mohammed, AI can be used to measure students' interactions and attentions. You're absolutely right. Oh, fantastic, lot of questions. Yes, Jawahar. My next two sessions will be in Emirates Towers, August 22 and August 23. I would love to see all of you there. Joya, we have a complete program, as I was sharing. We have a complete program to learn AI, and that can be certainly discussed. That can be certainly discussed of track. Well, again, I would refrain to answer questions on job, but I can guarantee you a lot of experience and learning when we work in the detailed learning plans, and that's how it works. So I think I don't know, Bashir, if you are there, you can please drop your coordinates so that people can write you email on the learnings, detailed learnings and internship and experience opportunities on the AI and related platforms. Okay, as we discussed about the service from Amazon for speech, let us see a few services which are available on the conversation. We have already spoken about conversational AIs, conversational AI use cases. Yes, that is classified. That is classified amongst different types of bots, from informational bots, application bots, enterprise productivity bots, or IoT-based bots based on where are we applying, which industry are we applying, and which domain are we applying. However, we need to understand what is the challenge a developer faces when they work with creating a conversational AI. And the most important challenge is around the systems, the business logic, the language, the speech recognition. And there are services and models which you can build. But if you set and plan build, getting that data is a time consuming process. That's why pre-created services like Amazon Lex is available, which is a conversational interface for your applications powered by natural language understanding and automatic speech recognition, which we have discussed last time, which helps you to consume and customize and kickstart. It just takes not more than 48 hours for your bot to be ready with the conversational AI, with the model, which talks about appointment booking, information services, IoT, customer support, and different access of enterprise data on various segments which it works. And it can be integrated with different practical components which will allow the understanding from the natural language and from the speech recognition. And this is again powered by Alexa, but the bots could be different. Bots could be different from different services which needs to work as a bot, like booking a hotel, where we need to understand the intent, booking the utterances, the slots, the fulfillment components. All of these is an important part to understand and define the correct learning mechanism. For a book a hotel, the process could be book a hotel from New York, where we need to use ASR, then push it to NLU, then the intent, and then the lambda based services for utterances, and then Amazon poly and confirmation can be applied. So this is the classic examples of what we have studied from the process perspective. It is designed for builders, for developers, which can use it on multi-platform, from mobile to messaging to web to IoT, on different aspects. And all these platforms are available for us to coordinate and work within the different formatting, text, analyzation of data which is getting executed. Amazon Lex is primarily used by HubSpot, NASA as their most largest customers. And then companies like Twilio, Infor are by default using it for the enterprise segment. And then here I spoke about one important service which integrates with Lex, which is Amazon Poly, where we have defined. Now, Amazon Poly is also one of the important predefined service which you can use. Please make note of these services, because this service is responsible to turn text into lifelike speech using, of course, deep learning, and synthesize this speech which sounds like human or different categorization. And these will further help you for learning, for content creation, for accessibility, and different other aspects. All these services are responsible to have pre-created values. So 52 voices are already available. Now, this is again a statistics of 2017. This number has been changed now to 91 voices. 25 languages is changed to 63 languages today till 2020. And it's further changing and growing. It's a completely managed service which can be consumed for semantics, evaluate the lifelike speech, and convert it to what we want to work in the accurate demo segments. And this basically a classical example of how and what we can work in the speeches. So these are a few companies who are using Amazon Poly text to speech in the platforms, where we have Amazon ML, Spark, Kinesis, Batch, and ECS segments available for all of us to consume. Then we also have a service called Managed Machine Learning, which basically works with regression and classification, and can work with the data structures in S3, RDS, or Redshift, which provides real-time predictions, which involves data pre-processing, data engineering, data validation, and application. So it is basically a machine learning flowchart, which is also termed as machine learning pipeline, which is created to process data, to extract the features, to model the training component, to model the validation, and to model the testing process altogether. And this will basically help in the complete segment of what and how data set is to be trained and data set is to be worked with. So these were the important segments which we have from Lex to Amazon to Poly and different values where we need to define the data, we need to define the schema and push the models to work and work on different techniques as such. Now let me share the screen once again, which makes an important fact of understanding from what we are trying to do. So we studied about the services, the platforms, and the frameworks where we have deep learning AMIs, machines like TensorFlow, Keras, cognitive toolkits, Torch, Apex, Apache MXNet available. And once we have classified services, platforms, and frameworks, we have infrastructure which needs to be worked on. And this infrastructure will play an important role in identifying the power, identifying the speed with which you work, from GPU to CPU to IoT to mobile aspects. So it's very important when we talk about infrastructure, the important action items starts with training a model to inferring them into the cloud and then providing accessibility to inference the edge of your machine learning models and access for the cloud. And all of this plays an important role into the complete flow of what can be expected from the network. NVIDIA GPU generation is one of the classical example which is used for, for the chips in used in Amazon data centers. And the complete accelerated computing is up to the date which we need to consider. So and there are multiple other aspects which will play an important role. Good guys, so I'm open for questions on all the services which we just discussed. If you have any, please feel free to ask, raise your hand and let's interact. I assume today's session was insightful and eye-opening for all of you. Please raise your hand to ask questions so that we can speak and interact. I'm parallelly looking at the chat. Yes, Seth, it is like TETS. Omar, you're talking about presentation. Okay, I'll share the presentation as well. Yes, Joya, please speak up.
Oh, yes, thank you for the awesome explanation. But I just got confused because the concept is kind of new for me. What's the difference between Amazon Lex and Amazon Poly?
Okay. So Amazon Lex and Amazon Poly are two different services by AWS. What we need to understand is Amazon Poly, which is responsible to turn text into lifelike speech. That's prime responsibility of Amazon Poly. Amazon Lex provides you services like Amazon Poly, which will do the complete interaction for conversational AI. Amazon Poly is just one part of service which can be achieved using Amazon Lex.
Okay, so can I explain it like this? Amazon Poly is responsible for text generation from sound waves, voice, but Amazon Lex is the AI. It's like the Apple Siri for Amazon.
Amazon Lex is the conversational AI.
Okay,
and it
thank
has
you.
bunch of services. And
Mhm.
Amazon Poly is one factor of that which converts your text to speech.
Okay, so Amazon Poly is used within Amazon Lex.
That's right.
Okay, great, thank you.
Saif Ali asks the questions, is there more on the infrastructure with GPU for AIs and hardware? They mostly talk about software. Everything Saif which I spoke about is about software on Amazon. When it comes to infrastructure, they have managed services network services, performance, quantum computing, HPCs, everything available. And that's a complete discussion altogether. So Amazon's infrastructure, or I'll say cloud's infrastructure, is a complete different activity altogether. And it has all the important verticals which will be part of cloud. So dependencies can be overcome with the help of integration. Jannat has asked a question. While creating a rash chat bot, I faced many dependencies issues. So how to deal with these type of problems? Every dependency can be resolved with the help of integration planning. So you need to work on correct integration patterns without the dependencies. Okay, Jannat has a question, how that integration can be done. If you can give any example, it will be helpful. So integration ideally is done with the help of web services or APIs. It depends on platform to platform like Magento or AWS web services or Google web services or REST APIs, XML services. These are the different two technologies which you can use to build an API for integration, and that will help. Thank you for being very patient and listening to me. I would love to interact with all of you physically. I will be landing in UAE on Saturday and looking forward to meet you guys on Sunday.